Hello and welcome to the digital presentation of the teacher work sample by me, Rain Walton. Let's begin. All about reading in second grade. The TWS unit that I focused on happened in Dr. Mary Giella Elementary School in Pasco County, Florida. It's part of the English Language Arts and was part of the Florida Virtual School curriculum. The Florida Virtual School curriculum was used to help ease the transition from face-to-face to quarantine or at-home distance learning during this particular school year. MGES contextual factors. These are some of the factors about Mary Giella Elementary School in that area. It is mostly non-Hispanic white and located in a very rural area in Pasco County. In a non-COVID-19 year, or according to last year's numbers, it was 70.6% free or reduced lunches. So the average income for that area, though, is about $50,000 a year. 30% of the students there receive ESE services and 25% of the students there receive ESOL services. Let's take a look at some of the classroom factors. The classroom factors mostly were in the second grade, although we can see in this table that there are classroom factors that affected first and kindergarten and third as well. Second grade, though, the expected reading level is a 1R, and we see that there was quite a few students at an emergency intervention level, and there were also quite a few students at a at-risk intervention level. The classroom that I taught my TWS in was the classroom that a teacher switched in. So the homerooms, there were homeroom teachers, and then my CT and I switched to the other classroom to teach this TWS, to teach English Language Arts in the afternoon. The rationale behind this choice. The curriculum calls for a focus on reading and comprehension of informational texts. It also lined up with the FLVS curriculum and resources that were available to us. There are a lot of different ways that reading informational texts can help students as they grow as readers, and it also helps their comprehension skills of scientific ideas. These are some of the standards and objectives that I used for this TWS. The rest are going to be on the other page. As the standards were integrated into this unit, we see also that the student objectives were built upon each other, so that in the beginning, students are required to be answering simple questions such as who, what, where, when, why, and how to see the details of a story. And by the end of that informational text unit, they are able to use contextual clues, text features, pulling together main ideas, making connections throughout the text to have a better idea of what's going on. So these are the rest of those standards and objectives. The assessments chosen for this unit were mostly pencil and paper. There was one quiz that was digital. All of these quizzes came directly from FLVS curriculum, and they acted as checkpoints throughout the unit to make sure that instruction was effective, that students were able to synthesize and learn what was being taught to them. In addition to the 3 checkpoints throughout the unit that helped decide instruction, everyday objectives were created to monitor the student progress so that on a daily basis decisions could be made. Let's look at some of these instructional delivery and decision making. The class was taught in 3 different tiers. So tier 1 is that whole class instruction time. It takes about 10 minutes. It's mostly the teacher modeling. It is also a lot of the front loading that happens and direction giving. Tier 2 is guided practice. Occasionally it was allowed to be peer-led or doing stuff in groups. There wasn't too much of that though because of those COVID-19 restrictions. We couldn't do a lot of peers talking in close proximity with one another, so a lot of it was instructor-led modeling. And that took about 15 minutes, and then the class would transition to independent practice for the majority of the students. This was also the time where I was able to work more closely on a tier 3 level with students who need that individual, that one-to-one or one-to-3 support. These are some of the data-driven results. So each day data was collected. I used the Marzano scales to see if students were meeting their objectives, and these results really drove home that remediation and instructional decision making throughout the unit. You'll see on the graph here that there's a dip in lesson 5, and there's a dip in quiz 2, and lesson 5 is where I saw that they had difficulty writing, and so we said, okay, my CT and I said, okay, let's use sentence starters. In quiz 2, I noticed some issues with some of the directions that I gave and some deep connections that the students were having difficulty. So from then on, we made clear directions and we front-loaded and remediated the information the next day. I focused very much in my data on 3 students, a low, medium, and high. So a tier 3, a tier 2, and a tier 1 student, all of which were very different individuals and a blast to work with. But you do see that our student 11, our tier 1 student, or our tier 3 student, had a lot of difficulty in the first and the third assessment and still showed progress throughout the rest, as did all of the other students. Looking at student growth, collectively, this whole unit benefited students greatly. The average growth was 40%. So if you look at the blue graph compared to the orange graph, you'll see that the blue graph, the pre-assessment, and the orange graph, the post and summative assessment, there was that growth. There was one student who had personal circumstances and wasn't able to retest after that, so it was unfortunate for her. But a lot of the students showed a large amount of growth. These are some of the work samples. We have on the right here, students making connections. We have the annotations in the middle, and you see that students, if they have to write, occasionally get paralyzed and can do very little. And it's about seeing that and working with it and moving forward. Looking back over this unit that was taught, there were a few areas that I thought would be great for personal development. I am happy with the whole experience. I am happy with the student growth. And what I really want to focus on next for my professional development would be research-based strategies to help during tier 2 and tier 3 time. I also want to make sure that I am using effective instructional planning that can alter as a unit continues. And as well as I want to make collaboration a district-wide or even statewide thing for me. There are lots of groups on social media, there's websites, and they are all groups for teachers to help one another out, whether it be curriculum or those research-based strategies with reading, which are so essential, especially in those primary grades with those foundational skills. And there's a lot of different places to grow, and I'm excited to do so. Thank you so much for staying with me through this presentation, and I hope you had a great time.